Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Obsession. We've been making a lot of videos for how to just play killers better and be a better killer in Dead by Daylight, strategy, mind games, etc. But today's video, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to make a video about my personal top 10 perks that you can run on almost any killer to enhance your gameplay experience. Now, to be clear, I don't think these are the best perks in the game, nor do I think these fit every meta or anything like that for each killer. But these, in my opinion, are the first handful of perks you'll want to immediately unlock that have the most universal usage until you start making specific killer builds, etc., etc. So, these are in no particular order, but without further ado, here are the top 10 best universal killer perks. Number 1 is Sloppy Butcher. Now, Sloppy Butcher is a general perk, meaning it doesn't need to be unlocked from any specific killer. Sloppy Butcher applies the Mangled status effect to survivors, which reduces their healing speed by 20%. Sloppy also applies the Hemorrhage status effect, causing survivors to bleed more frequently. This perk is really good to slow down survivors that are constantly healing, especially via self-heal or burning through their medkits faster. In a lot of higher ranked gameplay, on certain killers, Sloppy Butcher could deter survivors from healing in any way, shape, or form. They may just run around constantly wounded just because of the slowdown effect. So this is undoubtedly a wonderful perk. Number 2 is Enduring. Enduring is a perk that you can receive from Hillbilly and leveling him up. If you're a killer who swings through every single pallet, Enduring is definitely going to help you, as Enduring decreases the amount of time you're in the stun animation following a pallet stun by up to 50%. So if you're looking to chew through pallets and leave survivors scrambling through windows, Enduring is wonderful, especially when combined with perks like Brutal Strength or Spirit Fury, just as a pallet eater build later on. Number 3 is Corrupt Intervention. This is a perk from Plague that causes 3 generators furthest from the killer's spawn position to be locked by the entity for up to 120 seconds. This perk forces survivors who generally spawn near these generators to push towards you and find alternative generators to work on, buying you precious time to find them, slowing down the match in your favor. There are some downsides to running this perk, and it depends on the build you're going for, but generally, slowing down the progress of the survivors is not a bad thing, and not a bad option, and a perk that you should always try to have in your arsenal. Perk number 4 is Thrilling Tremors, and this can be found via Ghostface. After picking up a survivor, all generators not actively being worked on are blocked by the entity for up to 16 seconds. The generators will turn white on your screen if they're blocked, giving you valuable information on top of slowing the match down. This perk can really shine if Hex Ruin is still up, causing generator regression for those 16 seconds. However, this perk could potentially get in your way if you're looking to use Pop Goes the Weasel on a nearby generator that is locked. Perk number 5 is Barbecue and Chilli. Barbecue and Chilli is one of the most well-known perks that you can get, and it is from Leatherface. Barbecue and Chilli activates when you hook a survivor, showing you the auras of survivors that are more than 40 meters from the hook, and it shows you these auras for 4 seconds. You can earn up to 4 stacks of Barbecue and Chilli, 1 per each new survivor hooked, and this allows you to gain more blood points depending on the tier of Barbecue and Chilli that you have. This perk is incredibly helpful for getting info on where other survivors are, so you know your next action on top of getting better blood point payouts to get other perks or to spend blood points on unlocking other perks on other killers or survivors. Perk number 6 is Save the Best for Last. This is a Michael Myers aka The Shape perk. Now this perk I think gets walked around a lot or kind of glazed over because there's a lot of text and there's a lot to understand here, but we're going to try to break it down. When dealing damage to anyone who is not your obsession, you gain a token, up to 8 tokens. Now per token you get a 5% cooldown to your basic attack. Hitting your obsession loses at best 2 tokens and at worst 4 tokens. Realistically, if you got all 8 stacks, you would have a 40% cooldown on your basic attack, meaning you could hit somebody and get right back to chasing them even faster. And all you would have to essentially do is know who your obsession is and avoid them. Again, this perk is a little bit complex in how it is, and it may take some time to get used to having all this information to juggle at once, but ultimately, every killer has to chase at least a little bit during gameplay. And so the faster that you can get a hit and continue to chase, the better. And having a really firm grasp on this particular perk will help you down survivors a lot faster in the end. Perk number 7 is Pop Goes the Weasel. Pop Goes the Weasel is a clown perk that activates as soon as you hook a survivor, and it remains active for up to 60 seconds. Now this allows you to kick a generator, causing an automatic 25% regression. This perk is great for any killer because at some point you are going to need to slow down generators, and nothing better than using Pop to slow it down 25%. If it's at 25%, it just drops to 0, and if it's almost complete, it really can set the team back and buy you some much needed breathing room. Now, if you're running Pop Goes the Weasel, there are a few things you may not want to run in tandem. A good example of this would be Hex Ruin, as Hex Ruin is constantly causing generators to regress. If your totem never gets cleansed and Hex Ruin stays up the entire match, well, you can't kick a generator that's already regressing, so you're never going to get any usage out of your Pop Goes the Weasel. So be very conscious of combining some of these slowdown perks together, as you may not be able to actually get any use out of them. Perk number 8 is Nurse's Call. Look, Nurse's Call is one of the first perks I got, and it is a perk that I have used on nearly every killer I play. You get this, of course, from Nurse, and it allows you to see the aura of somebody who is healing within up to 28 meters range of your position. This is something that you can run on nearly every killer to apply pressure to survivors who are constantly healing, especially if you're returning to a hook where somebody got unhooked and there's healing going on. It's kind of this universal perk that's going to help you continue to apply pressure so that people don't always feel so safe, like they can heal up and then just start working on generators again. Perk number 9 is Hex Ruin. Hex Ruin is something that you can get from the Hag, and it's a wonderful perk. The biggest issue with Hex Ruin, though, is that it's a totem perk. This perk forces all generators to automatically start regressing if they aren't actively being worked on. The regression rate goes up to 200% of the normal regression rate. And while this is a helpful perk, like I said, it is a hex perk. And in some games, it'll slow down survivors a drastic amount, and in other games, it'll get cleansed nearly automatically and be a wasted slot for the duration of the game. I personally don't run Hex Ruin if I don't have to. I usually run Pop Goes the Weasel instead because Hex Ruin ends up not doing a lot for me. As survivors get smarter and you start ranking up, they'll find it very quickly and try to remove it as fast as they can. Nonetheless, though, this perk is still great for the moments that it does work, especially if you're a yellow or even a green rank killer, and sometimes into purple. Sometimes you might get a very lucky Hex spawn and people have a hard time finding Hex Ruin. It doesn't make it necessarily less valuable, and even if it does get cleansed, that means that survivors had to spend time cleansing it or finding it to cleanse it, and even that time may be valuable for any killer. And perk number 10 is Surveillance. This comes from Piggy. Surveillance allows you to see every generator on the map via a spectrum of colors. A generator that is kicked and is regressing shows up as white. And if the generator regression has been interrupted, the generator will turn yellow for up to 16 seconds. This can give you valuable information for what generators are being worked on, what generators are regressing, and what generators are something that the survivors keep coming back to constantly to try to work on. If you find that a generator turns yellow, you go kick it, you leave, you come back, and it's yellow again, you know they're dedicated and they're still hanging around that area. So valuable information the entire time you play. I think Surveillance is a very, very, very underrated perk that gives you information. The problem with Surveillance is that it gives you just information. It doesn't have dual usage like Thrilling Tremors, and it doesn't necessarily slow down the game. It just gives you a good idea of where to apply pressure. Surveillance also makes generator repair sounds louder and makes it so they can be heard at least 8 meters further than normal. And this is important, again, say if you're trying to sneak as the pig or as Ghostface or something of that nature. Again, valuable information for you to act upon if you hear that it's being worked on as well. Thank you all so much for being here on The Obsession. We are going to be creating a video for when the new killer releases on the 4th anniversary of Dead by Daylight. We'll also be covering the PTB for the new killer and or survivor. I hope you guys subscribe to the channel to get more information on when that happens, and I will pray to the entity to see you in the next video.